Well, welcome everybody to the online program for the Sunshine Coast Health Center. And this program we're going to be talking about some very practical things that happen in therapy for addictions. And each week we're taking a particular expert therapist and looking at his or her ideas. Last week, of course, we talked about Dr. Jonathan Diamond, and this week we'll talk about Dr. Geoff Singer. Geoff Singer, like Dr. Diamond, believes in this idea that stories and the stories we tell ourselves are fundamentally how we make sense of ourselves. They form our identity. Okay? This is a little different than Dr. Diamond's, but yeah, same general idea. Now, Dr. Singer worked in a place called Lebanon Pines, and not currently. He's a professor of psychology at the moment, but he used to work at a place called Lebanon Pines, and the prerequisite to get into Lebanon Pines was you must have had to gone through 7 detoxes and 6 residential treatment centers. They've changed the criteria since then. But anyway, Dr. Diamond got to see these people, and one thing that he got curious about is how is it that these people could keep going into treatment and get all this knowledge and experience and yet keep relapsing, right? So he studied these people, and what he discovered about them is that they had a very weak sense of who they were, and they had this profound sense that they really didn't fit in the world. And he understood this because he spent a lot of time talking about them and wrote a very famous book called A Message in a Bottle, Stories of Men in Addiction. Anyway, Dr. Singer's therapy was to, again, help them make a new story of themselves, of their lives, so that they could answer these questions, who am I, which is a question of identity, and in psychology we call it agency, and this question of how do I fit in the world around me, in my world, in relationships with friends, in my community. And this is a question of relationships with other people. And if they could shift this to be much more positive, right? And recognize that they actually do fit in the world, and that maybe they aren't evil or the great Satan or anything else, that maybe this shift could help them break out of this cycle of addiction. Anyway, all based on this concept of story, but also based on the concept of this human being in work here, and that the human being's reality is basically how he makes sense, or she makes sense of the world, and then make sense of themselves, and then how the two come together. How do I fit in the world around me? Anyway, that's Dr. Singer. And next week we'll be back with another expert therapist.